And we are live. I do believe so. Gentlemen, hold on. We might be streaming on a different... I can never figure out these scheduled broadcasts. Okay, we're dialed in.
I always have to go in and delete the other ones that never uploaded.
I think we're dialed in now. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Dylan. Happy birthday to you.
Damn, I think
Clap it up.
we should put that on the radio.
Abso-fucking-lutely. Happy birthday, buddy.
Thank you.
Welcome to the podcast,
Beautiful.
everybody. Tonight we got a lot of topics like, what's Dylan up to?
Well, right now,
Happy fucking birthday, buddy.
thank you. It's my birthday.
Be careful of copyright. Something Cool Gaming said.
It's true. That song is copyrighted.
What's up, Cole? Good to see you. Rana, good to see you.
Copyright strike going to happen.
We're not monetizing this, so I don't think.
Isn't that song from like the 1600s? I think we're in the clear.
I think the copyright expired.
Actually, yeah.
It should be good. I think we're okay, guys. If the birthday people come after us, I think we're...
They jumped through the window.
Yeah. Got these motherfuckers. Well, actually, funny story. I used to work in a restaurant, and that was the story that they always told us why we couldn't sing
Happy
actual happy birthday. That's why when you go to a lot of restaurants, they have their own song.
birthday. Their own version of it.
Because that was always the story that they told us was, well, actually, that song you can't sing. It's like, who the fuck, like, am I gonna sue? I didn't work here, but like, am I gonna sue the Olive Garden if I own the rights to Happy Birthday because some?
I mean, Olive Garden's got a lot of money.
They have the power.
You're right. I'm thinking of it way too practically.
Yeah.
You're right. It's
It
all
would
about
be
money. Who
Some
gives a
mom
shit?
and pop shop. Like, am I
Exactly.
going to sue some mom and pop shop?
You're right. Gentlemen, how we doing? It's a beautiful Tuesday. We just
good.
began August. We are in the later stages of summer. I call this the dirty part of summer because everything
Dirty
just
summer.
starts looking the red and we're transitioning into fall and things are starting to cool off and
How often have you
Here we
called
are.
this the dirty part of summer?
I call it the dirty
How long?
one.
How long has this been a thing?
Oh,
just-
at least 5 minutes.
Who do... Okay.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
At least, right?
That's
So
pretty well established then.
I'm surprised it hasn't really caught on.
Yeah.
I like it.
Dirty summer.
well, we're starting it.
The dirty
we're
part
getting
of
it rolling.
summer.
We're getting it rolling.
Did you just say that and then think of like why you call it that after you? Like, did you make that up on the fly? Because
No.
that is wild.
That's how I think of it. I don't know. To me, I think of I'm a very visual person. So like when I think of early June, I know it's technically not even summer yet, I don't believe, but you get that like initial heat wave that comes in. It feels fresh, feels
shower
new.
less?
It brings in, yeah, he calls it dirty. Oh, yeah, there you go.
What do you know?
But like it feels fresh. It feels like there's something new, and then you get that late stage. You get that late stage summer where everything is just like it's just hot. You're kind of tired
Everything's
of the
catching
hot.
on fire.
And I just think of like red. I get like red vibes, and it's just like
Hot August.
it's
night.
just dirty, right? And it's like steamy and lubricious. Right?
Lubricious?
I brought this word up before. You guys checked me, and it's actually a fucking word. So yeah, it's greasy. Okay,
It's greasy.
greasy. It's dirty. That's.
I don't know.
I don't need to explain myself any further. Okay.
Your summer is very different
Yeah.
than mine.
PSL, baby. I have no idea what that means. PSL. Do you have any idea what that means?
No, I don't.
Gym
think
Tan Laundry, GTL.
I don't think I'm cool enough to know these
PSL.
acronyms.
But here we are. This is
We're a nerd podcast.
we are in August now, which is crazy to even think we're
Yeah.
past the halfway mark for sure for the
Pumpkin
year.
spice latte.
Oh sweet Jesus. Oh sweet. Look at the chat. They all know what the fuck they're talking about. Okay.
Pumpkin spice.
Pumpkin spice latte.
That's what it is. Okay.
I have not partaken
Ever?
in the pumpkin
Never
spice.
had a pumpkin spice latte.
Now, here's my thing, though. I love the flavor of pumpkin.
Why have you never had one?
I don't like coffee, so leave it at that.
Weirdo.
I love the flavor of pumpkin though, like pumpkin cookies,
Hey.
pumpkin bread, pumpkin pie. So good.
We laugh at him because he's different. He laughs because we're all the same.
God, that's
He's not a
poetic.
sheep.
That's poetic. I love it.
That's some
I'm gonna
Sigma.
quote that.
Sigma male.
You know who said that? Me. Just claiming it. Did you get that from somewhere?
Oh yeah, like I don't
That's
know.
really funny.
A couple years ago at work, I was taking pictures of everybody, and turning them into like Sigma male memes, and
the
that was
Joker
like
memes?
that was like a Sigma meme quote that I looked up once.
And then, yeah, it makes sense around that time. Sheeple, yeah. Well, we're here to celebrate Dylan's birthday, which coincidentally coincides with
Podcast.
the death of Game Informer.
what are
There's
the
a
odds?
lot of death coincided with my birthday, but we don't have to talk about that. one.
Obviously, we don't. I'm not going to go into why Game Informer failed or why. Like,
Just
I think
skipping
it's
over that
fucking
reference.
obvious.
Let's offer our
We don't.
analysis.
We don't need
on why the
analysis.
company failed.
But let's
This
talk
is
about
a
company
business
based
podcast.
on magazines.
let's let's
How
talk
did they
about.
How did they not transition the way IGN did?
Yeah, right.
Like that's their fault.
Let's get into everybody's top 10 favorite articles from.
Just kidding. Yeah.
Jesus. Just kidding.
Back in 2005.
No, what did Game Informer mean to you guys? Because for me, it was like I was thinking about what when we decided we were going to talk about this. I was thinking about what Game Informer meant to me as a kid. It was the first mail that I had to me.
Yeah, I think
And
so.
that I
Yeah?
felt like an adult. And that was like one of the things I appreciated the most about it. I was like, I gotta go check the mail. You know, I think the Game Informer's out there. You
Game
know?
Informer's
You're
arrived.
12 years old, like I gotta go check on my GameSpot GameStop subscription. Gotta
Yeah.
make sure my magazine shows up. You know,
Got to check the dailies,
Yeah.
you know.
and it was cool to get. It felt high
I was
quality.
subscribed to Game Informer for like almost 10 years.
Yeah.
What was the name of their? It was like the Power Pass. What was the subscription?
They had the
from
Power
GameStop?
Pass.
It was the Power Pass, right?
Yeah.
I had like this little silver card in my wallet. I
Yeah.
was like,
I
I'm
had a credit
documented.
card with GameStop. It closed itself out because it sat at zero for too long, but I had a credit card with GameStop for a while.
I did too. I was that level.
I didn't.
But like, for what did I always enjoy? I can't sit there and say I read that shit from cover to cover every single month, but I will say I always enjoyed seeing it because it was like the top 2 or 3 things going to go on, you know, for the next quarter or whatever. They were right there on the front page, and you kind of thumb through it and see it. You didn't read it to see like, oh, what's the review on this game? At least I didn't. It was really
I did actually.
what's upcoming.
Yeah.
I would look at what's upcoming, but I'd look forward to reviews on like what just came out or something like that.
I did, and I was a kid, and so this was
No.
this would have been around. Well, Game Informer was very recent, so this could have been last year. True. But when I was subscribed to Game Informer, it was like I don't know, between 2005 and 2010. I was actually subscribed to it all the way up until I remember reading one. It was the Witcher 3 review was in it. So like 2015 was like, and that was like the last one because I just let it. I didn't renew it. But anyways, 2005 is probably like right around when I first started. And as a kid, I didn't like go on YouTube to watch reviews because I didn't even know what I was looking for.
Yeah.
So like Game Informer, I was like, oh, this a 9 out of 10. I'm buying this immediately. This is incredible.
And
Or at
that's-
least I'm
that's-
begging my mom to buy it immediately.
Yeah, that's how I felt like I leveraged it was what looks cool, what had really cool concept art, and then like that's what I would inform my buying decisions.
No.
And it's amazing how fast that was made basically irrelevant once the internet really started to pop off with all its
No.
spots. Because then like I had no attachment to Game Informer, and I think at some level it was really just a marketing thing. Like you knew that people paid for spots in there, and that was that. And so once you found things like, you know, reviewers on YouTube or like these niche websites that you would really appreciate this feedback because you knew they were unbiased, it was like, okay, shelve that. Let's see you later.
Yeah, but not even the reviews. But I would say the final nail in the coffin is when all the gaming companies didn't give them like exclusives anymore, like reveals. So like, because that's where I would turn to for a lot of like, oh shoot, this game's coming out.
Yeah.
But then they didn't have, you know, like I could get that information a lot easier online.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've got a couple things in the chat here, so loved getting their magazines. I saved some, so many covers. Some of my favorite games had cover art on there. Definitely a solid period of gaming before the internet popped off with magazines / other media. Exactly what we're talking about here, right?
I used to love the cover art.
God,
that
the
they would
cover art
have
was
on the-
cool. That
you know.
I probably made more purchasing decisions based on the cover art than anything else.
I think gaming cover art, like in general, has gone really downhill. Like they used to make covers of like on the covers of games, like they used to look so much cooler.
And they had a map inside.
And now it's like the same thing, no matter what genre, what game. It's always the same thing every time. It's the main character standing looking cool in the
on
back
a mountain, maybe
on a mountain or whatever. But that's it every time. There's no like cool cover art anymore. It's the same thing
I'm
every
trying
time.
to think of what it is on Steam. I don't even know if there is cover art. I think when you go to a home page of like a Steam game, I think it launches right into a video. I think it literally like there's not even
They
a
don't
cover.
even show
It's just,
cover art
it's
anymore?
just right into like here's our promotion pitch
Gameplay?
for why you should buy this. Bring back midnight releases and game guides. Damn it.
Buying a game
Ooh.
guide now is just to say you did, but like you don't even need them anymore. Everything's online.
Yeah.
Well, it's
I miss game guides though. Those were
I think it's
I used
one
to
of those
collect
things
those.
that the game guides themselves haven't changed, and in fact, they've probably gotten even more high quality. But what has changed is how people interact and consume games. You don't want a game guide for the whole fucking game. You're trying to go for this one achievement, or how do I go and get that weapon? You want to see a 4-minute clip on YouTube that's going to show you exactly how to get there. That's your game guide these
Yeah.
days, to get that. But
I love midnight releases. Those were so fun.
how many times have we talked about midnight releases on this podcast and how enjoyable they are?
Not more than 10, but
Yeah,
at least 5.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Some of the best fun. I know. Did you participate a lot in them?
once.
Once.
It wasn't.
and it
It was
wasn't cool.
aight.
It was for Kirby Dream Land 2.
Yep.
See, when they,
The midnight release party was pretty wild.
It's crazy.
I feel like I went to some midnight releases, and it was all about the crowd energy. You would go there.
Bunch of nerds.
If you were just
Yeah.
if you were standing out in
Fun.
the cold and like there was no energy, and you're next to like a 64-year-old dude who's questionable decisions, you're like why is everyone in this line 15 and here's this guy? What are we doing here?
That's going to be me soon.
I know, right?
Like,
Like then that's not fun if there's like 4 people in line, or like the people who wait in their car and then get out at the last second. But I always loved, and I have like 7 examples of this. You're in line, they're doing like trivia. Hey, who has this? Who bought this? Answer this question and you get this free poster. Oh, you want some shirt? Like just swag to like really build up energy around the game.
remember at
the game you're about to buy. Like, oh man, it was
at the
so
Modern
much fun.
Warfare 3
At the mall,
midnight
right?
release at the mall, which was awesome because you were indoors, so it wasn't cold.
100%.
They had a Call of Duty contest. They were like 1v1s, and I forgot what you won, like maybe a free copy of the game or something. And it was like actually like really fun.
It was competitive too.
And I remember your
He's so
your brother
pissed.
entered. He was so mad.
This was
'Cause
Xbox.
it was on Xbox, and he was used to PlayStation.
Uh huh.
And he was really in his prime. He was really good at the game, but he went out on like the first round.
Yeah.
And he like was so, and he was like, it's because it was on Xbox, and he was so pissed about it. But it was not a showcase of how good he was. So he was so mad about it.
He's like, I'm about to punk these nerds, and then
Yeah.
it's punked.
Something Cool Gaming says now games launch at 9 p.m. on a digital store the night of release. Well, and then if you don't forget, you could buy the pre-pass and get it 3 days early.
Yeah.
And then,
Preload it.
yeah, you could preload it, which all
like
these
that.
things are great things.
Yeah.
I
Honestly,
love-
I can complain about it, but like,
you
if-
probably could
here's
still
the thing.
pre-order games at GameStop. and
yeah,
pick
here's
them
the
up.
thing. If someone says, "Are you going to go to the midnight release party for a game?" I would never bring myself to do that anymore. Because like,
'Cause
why
it's
would
just-
I?
Right, exactly.
So like, it's like nostalgia goggles for sure.
100%. I totally agree with that. But I think it's because of how they're done. Like your one experience, you were like, it was nothing. I feel like there's ways to go about doing it. One of the things I never understood is they didn't let people into the store. I always thought that was a bad move. Especially like the big release window was at the end of the year, right? So it's like cold as shit. Let them in store. let them like
That's why it was fun at the mall.
yeah, let them play the fucking game that they're about to buy or something. Like if you can do that, I don't know if legally you can do that, but let them play the game on like on the console and store, or let them play the prequel to it, or do something like to just get the energy up. Like it's kind of fun to have that experience like as a community where you're like
They probably didn't let people
with
in
30 or
'cause they'd
40
steal-
people. You've already paid for the game.
No,
No,
steal
like
other
there's
games.
there's like a couple hundred people in line and like 2 GameStop workers. They
And-
probably like crowd management is.
They're
see.
jacking all these other off the shelves. I mean, I know they're all in their back little cabinet, but
That's a really negative opinion, I think.
But that's
Well-
I think very realistic.
very realistic. So
I go to midnight releases to steal games.
I don't think they would go for that specifically, but you get a bunch of teenagers fucking like, dude, fuck it, let's just fucking take this pop.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
I could
I
see
get
it
it.
happening.
Ubisoft launching $130 version of games. Get the hell out of here. Who wants to pay for a game to play 3 days early? Garbage.
Can we
You're
talk
right.
about that?
You're right. Something Cool Gaming. Let's pay $150 to play early. $150 and I could play 5 days early. That's what I want to do. This is where it's going. Like, it wasn't. What was the Ubisoft game that did that? Wasn't it like Assassin's Creed or something? Like, not even.
They did that with FIFA, and it didn't work. Like the game was
EA
unplayable,
did that. Yeah, with FIFA.
or EA did.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that wasn't Ubisoft. but
Ubisoft probably did it with
with
Black
everything
Flat.
They must have
Oh,
done it with Assassin's Creed.
now, yeah, it's all of them now. Yeah.
The pirate one, Skull and Bones.
Skull and Bones, yeah.
That's the one that immediately jumped out of mind. The first quadruple A game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
first quadruple A.
Whatever that fucking means.
The
This is a
moment
double D battery game.
the moment they dropped that line, everyone knew like, okay,
I
we're
knew
having
way
a bad
before
time.
then.
Yeah.
It wasn't even apparently. I haven't played it, so this might not be a fair judgment. But people
No,
said
it
it
is.
didn't even have as
It
many
is.
features as Assassin's Creed Black Flag.
Yeah, it's
Like
true.
it wasn't even as good as Black Flag.
The entire community is screaming like, give us that. Don't
Yeah.
even have to change it.
Mhm.
Put it in a new game, and that's fine. And then they like iterated on it and it made it worse.
no.
No, they didn't iterate. That's the thing. They like
took away features.
backwards
Away.
iterated.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. They
They de-evolved.
had,
Devolved.
had their own strategic vision.
Yeah.
you know?
And it's like because I love Black Flag. I mean, I know you guys don't like ship combat, right? Or Kyle doesn't.
It's me specifically. I don't like naval combat in games.
I really enjoyed it. I thought Black Flag did it well, but like in
you dropped an L there.
Black Flag,
That was an accident for anyone that was.
I said the correct one. But I think it did it really well, and I think Skull and Bones, it just like I'm gonna put on my conspiracy hat here. Okay. So Ubisoft made a deal in Singapore, okay? With Singapore, the government, that they could build like,
Boy, this is deep. Where
It
the
is.
fuck
No,
are we
right,
going?
right. Buckle in.
I'm reporting
They
the
would
stream.
build-
Thanks, Cole.
They
Got our back. I appreciate it.
they could build a place out in Singapore, but they had to produce a game. Ubisoft used that place to go on vacations, like all the big wigs. And when it came time, where
What the fuck are we? I need it.
yeah.
Keep feeding it because I'm lost here.
when it started to come time where Singapore was like, "Hey, we let you build this facility. Where's our game?" Skull and Bones. So it was made in the Singapore.
So
Ubisoft.
the
So they
higher
wanted a
ups could
place
go on
to
vacation.
vacation.
So it's like how
We're-
Adam Sandler makes movies,
Yeah,
where he like,
Okay.
finds plot reasons to be some really awesome place.
Okay. Quadruple A.
I think so.
Quadruple A.
Because when you translate English, 3 A's in English to Singaporean, it's 4 A's actually. What if it
Don't
was
fact
something-
check that.
What if that was like something that simple? It's actually quadruple A, depending on who you ask. Okay, well, that's wild.
Possible.
Yeah.
Let's talk about IPs for a minute, since that we're
we
kind
done
of
with Game
touching
Informer?
this. What's that?
Are we done with Game Informer?
I
Did
guess
you have
so.
any closing thoughts on that, or
I kind of did. I mean, I think they should have seen the writing on the wall when G4 tried to come back.
Yeah.
I don't think they cared.
What a shame that turned into.
I don't think they cared. I think they they should have seen the writing on the wall in 2006. But the reality is it's. I think they just wanted to be what they were and let it
Yeah.
fizzle out until it wasn't.
Was their online presence ever that significant?
No.
I mean, they had a website, I imagine.
Well, remember they
See, you imagine.
remember they had like their digital version or whatever, and it was like that. Like you got the copy
Yeah.
and the digital, and I don't think I ever once went to it.
Like, as much as we harp on IGN for being how they are, at least they kind of evolved with the times, you know?
Do you remember the IGN had an app?
No,
IGN had an app?
I used to have it on my iPod Touch.
any good?
It was good. It was pretty, like, they had your daily news. So, like, you could see daily game news, and you could click on reviews, and it'd have the review.
I wish we had something like that today.
I'm sure there's still IGN.
Well, no, now it's just called Reddit, and you go to this gaming
True.
subreddit, and that's it is what it is.
I got rid of Reddit.
Game Before had a website, YouTube, and podcast, live streaming, and probably more. Wow.
So they had everything they needed to have to
but
succeed.
just nobody, very few people supported.
I mean,
They
we're
would have had to
talking
have
to
had
like
an audience. I don't think we were versed enough in Game Informer to know what they were doing.
bullshit. We both had the credit card.
That's
associated
GameStop.
with- Yeah, but come
Game
on.
Informer is GameStop.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like,
Like you're talking about like their fucking VIP customers, and we didn't even know about.
this is so long
shit.
ago. This is over 10 years ago.
I
Well, but I
know.
think it's such a niche that even though you were the VIP, like we evolved, and I guess it sounds like they tried to evolve, but just
never did.
nobody.
I meant I wasn't versed enough on the modern Game Informer, other than like, oh, when I'd look at a new game, like, oh, they gave Elden Ring a 10, cool.
Right,
Like,
but that's what I'm saying. They did a really shitty job of shifting their consumers into that model because
Well, I
we
mean,
were entrenched in their products and had no idea,
as evidenced by their
or
downfall.
didn't care. Yeah,
So
or didn't care. I mean, that's
didn't
the
care.
reality. I think there was just so much like it's not like, damn, I wish I would have known that. Like I didn't lose anything because I didn't. Let's just make it that. We need to short GameStop again. Yeah, and then Roaring
deserve
Kitty,
it.
Roaring Kitty will have something to say about that, and it'll just juice up the market a little bit more. So,
hold.
let's talk about IPs for a second. I forget how I was triggered into launching to this subject.
Ubisoft, Black.
Ubisoft, the Skull and Bones,
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed. There you go. Thank you. Vince Vaughn.
okay, Trump,
Vince Vaughn.
you're doing the Trump hands.
Good. I got small hands just
Good.
like him. Vince Vaughn just did an episode of Hot Ones. Hot Ones is on a streak right now. They've had some really good.
They've launched-
They had
back-to-back
Ryan
bangers.
Reynolds, Hugh Jackman.
Yeah. But Vince Vaughn was just on there.
I haven't watched it yet, but
It was one of the best Hot Ones episodes ever.
Isn't this like?
that's a lot to claim. There's so many good ones.
Yeah, I agree.
Didn't Sean say this is the last season though?
Ever?
Ever? Wow. I wonder why. I
Are
wonder what he's going to pivot into.
Are you friends with him?
I am.
You just cool enough to be on a first name basis?
Sean, you know,
Didn't
Sean Chi?
Sean G, the white
Sean Evans.
Yeah.
Sean Evans?
Well, hold on. So he interviewed Vince Vaughn, and it was one of the. First off, he was goated in the terms of like going through the Hot Ones challenge. Vince Vaughn did better than anyone I've ever seen. He not only did like a
Better than
crazy,
DJ Khaled?
oh god, better than Paul Rudd,
God.
which is insane. He not only doused his last wing in the last one, he then went back and doused it in Da Bomb. Which is never I never seen
Didn't
one
Paul
that he's
Rudd
done that.
On his very last wing, do every all-in-one?
Yeah, but he put them all in one and then just dipped it into that like hodgepodge. So like
Okay.
he had that and then he went back and had a dousing of Da Bomb.
I'm just a little worried you're overhyping this for when I watch it. If it's not the best Hot Ones episode.
Oh, he is hyping it, Kyle.
I haven't even gotten to the fucking point that I'm going to.
You're
calling me out. Listen,
I have
He-
severe ADD. All right, this podcast.
I watched it twice. Granted, I was kind of working, so I didn't pick up on everything he was talking about, but I watched it a second time. That's how awesome it was. First off, Vince Vaughn is just a fun guy. But he talked about this idea, back to IPs, that Hollywood is struggling with. And I think this is probably going through with games and publishing companies because I think they try to follow the same model. But Vince Vaughn was talking about how Hollywood got in this idea of like every idea had to be an IP. So it was like, let's build a story. Okay, now let's attach it to this IP. And he brought up the example Battleship. Like he's like, it's a board game we played. Now all of a sudden, it's got to be like a movie that's about something else, but they use the Battleship IP because it's recognizable. And it's like, the thesis he gives is it's like if you're doing math and you say a right angle is 85 degrees and not 90 degrees, well, the rest of your geometry is going to be off because your base assumption is wrong. And so like that's how all these your understanding at a fundamental level is off, which then makes every decision like a cascading failure from there. And so he talked about like John Hughes movies, but going back in the day of like, your IP, if you want to use that language, would just be something as simple as, a girl turning 16 or, kids getting into a little trouble together and something like that. Like just things that we go through as everyday life as humans.
Don't you forget about me.
Exactly. So I thought this was kind of interesting because I feel like we're kind of in that space as public. We're being thrown a lot of this shit from publishing companies where they try to attach things and it's like, why is that a video game? Why is it called that?
Everything has to be the next live service something.
Right. They're all trying to fit into that model because it's like, that's what everyone else is doing. So, and it's like this twisted view of making games. And it's like, it's the business side, I think, influencing the creative side, which it's a little weird. Or
that's
maybe
why
that's
AAA for sure, but that's also that very mindset that people are aware of is why indie games really popped off last couple of years. And they have been more popular than,
indie games
probably
are a
ever.
good spot, yeah.
Because, I think consumers are aware of that. They're aware of the way AAA studios approach games and the freedom to be creative or unique or approach things in a new way just isn't there on AAA. It's there in indie games. But a studio would never risk a bunch of money on a concept that may or may not succeed, whereas an indie game, they could do that. They'd be like, let's try this. This is an experimental way to approach this, something that might be fun and unique, and it may or may not be successful. If it's not, it's whatever. We spent all of $1,000 developing this.
So Something Cool Gaming says, you have Rockstar and From Software saying fuck you to the entire industry and doing what they want and releasing when they want. Respect.
I don't know about Rockstar too much.
With
Fits in that.
Grand Theft Auto?
They
definitely release
they do
when
what they want.
And they do what they want, but they're greedy.
They're very greedy and they catered.
You think Grand Theft Auto's greedy?
GT Online.
Well, that's its own
No,
thing.
they had.
That's Rockstar.
That's Rockstar.
No, I get it. But like GTA Online, like that's them reaping the benefits of them
No.
having success.
They had expansions planned for Red Dead,
No.
and they canceled them because
They couldn't fit it to a microtransaction model, right?
They couldn't. Yeah, they determined it wasn't going to be profitable enough.
that's greed.
I
don't think
love
so.
certain Rockstar games though.
I think it is.
Like I could see. Okay, Rockstar is. They almost are like. They operate on both sides of the fence here.
Mm-hmm.
They develop high quality, amazing games. But they've also done things in the past, like with shark cards and things like that, where like they fall guilty to all the same shit that's plaguing all these other AAA games. But it's a little bit more forgivable with them because they also are just developing that really high tier, pristine, single player experience. And then the multiplayer, then they'll be like, we've gathered all these people. They love our games. Now we're going to fuck you over with getting you involved into like, gambling simulator and things like that. You know what I mean? So like I can see they do play on both sides of that.
Yeah. See, and to me, like everybody knows the day GTA 6 ships, Rockstar's collecting $1 billion check.
Oh yeah, it's probably going to break records again.
I remember I remember GTA 5 came out and they did 600 million the day one. 600 million based
Yeah.
on I think pre-orders and day one copy sold.
We looked
It's
up the
just-
lifetime sales of GTA 5 at one point. It was insane. It was like more than any movie that had ever.
Don't they still collect like a couple million a day in terms of
Oh, yeah.
daily revenue?
Something crazy, yeah.
So
My problem, I think, is Rockstar. They do put a lot of love and care into their titles, but they're also they're a business, so it's
course.
fair. But they're driven primarily by what will net them the most money, and because of that, they've abandoned things that people
Maybe too
love
early.
and care about, like Red Dead. That Red Dead 2 is the pinnacle of their storytelling and like their single player gaming, but they abandoned it very, very quickly because it wasn't making as much money as GTA. And so from a business perspective, I mean, it's kind of obvious why they do that. They have to make money. But from the gamer's perspective, it is kind of a bummer when, like they could still make a ton of money on Red Dead, but they didn't continue it because, make a $500 million versus making $1 billion. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Where should they
And
spend
it's-
their resources?
And I would say just being able to watch other companies do it differently also kind of forms that opinion or shapes that opinion for me. Like, I know CD Projekt Red, they messed up, right? They shipped Cyberpunk, it was broken, but they still committed. They originally had 2 expansions, but to me it makes sense why they went down to 1. It's because they had to fix the game first, but they still did an expansion. And to me that says a lot. It shows that they are storytellers, and a business, but they're storytellers.
I think not that Rockstar, because they're too big of a company
Yeah.
to ever, they wouldn't ever release a game. I don't think. I say that now.
We said that
I
about
don't
CD.
Yeah, I don't think Rockstar would ever release a single player. At least they've had trouble with their multiplayer games, but they would never release a single player game in that state. But if they had, I think that they're the type of company that would just abandon it altogether and then just focus heavily on what they're making money in. They wouldn't sit there and commit to trying fixing it. If Red Dead 2 was a buggy mess at
Oh.
launch,
There's still bugs in Red Dead 2.
yeah, but it's not like
they're not.
it's not anything on the level of where
CD Projekt.
CD Projekt Red's Cyberpunk was. But if Red Dead 2 had launched in the state that Cyberpunk launched, I think they would have just completely abandoned it, not tried to fix it, and focused all on Red Dead or GTA Online. And I think that's the difference between a company that CD Projekt Red's a smaller studio, so they kind of had to do it to save face, whereas GTA could probably take a hit like that and still get by. Because EA and Ubisoft do it all the time.
BioWare.
BioWare, yeah.
They
But
thrive on the.
I think that's
shitty
the
games.
mindset that we're talking about on what we like to see out of studios. That it might not be the most fiscally advantageous thing to do, but
So Red Dead had no DLC.
no.
Mm.
Did Red Dead 2 have any DLC?
Oh,
No,
Red
Red
Dead 1 did have a DLC.
Okay.
It had Undead Nightmare, which is actually really, really good. Red Dead
Amazing.
2 pretty much launched, had a top tier story, good campaign, and then they just didn't do anything with it.
Yeah, I think my opinion is I think gamers need to kind of stop almost not worshiping, but simping to these corporations, as much
Yeah.
as we do, where it's like, oh, why couldn't you do that? Because it would be so awesome. And it's just well, these companies, they have finite resources. And of course, sitting down, you want to, if you're running a business, right, your decision is what's going to have the highest rate of return. And there's a way to go about doing that doesn't sacrifice short-term beliefs for long-term mistakes, right? So the idea is Rockstar could have shipped GTA 6 4 years ago. Could have been broken, doesn't matter. They'd clip that $1 billion check just because of the name alone and have a nice fucking day.
Yeah.
That would be a short-term decision to make that money, but it'd be a long-term mistake because they couldn't do a GTA 7. You know what I mean? So now it's they have to balance that of quality and quantity and decision making with what they're going to do. And I think obviously GTA 5 online is one of the most profitable things that exists, and it's wildly successful, and there's hundreds of thousands of people that still engage with that content. So I don't blame them for funneling resources into that. And
As
not
a
at
business, I don't blame it at all.
all. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I'm not
Exactly. And so like I feel like this this occurs a lot of times is like us as gamers, because you enjoy an IP so much, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, I want to have more content of that. And then when people move on, it's you kind of have that void. I think this kind of goes into what I was talking about last week. That's why I like the live service model, because it's always still like alive, at least if it's done well. The games that I've played, like Guild Wars 1 came out 20 something years, came out like 20 years ago, 19 years ago. Like I could still go and play that, and still experience all that same stuff that I love. I like that. I like that I could still go online and there's people playing it and it's not getting shut down. I mean, I see this stuff nowadays where these live service games from these ultra mega greedy corporations, they publish these games and then abandon them in 4 years. And then the people that did suffer through it and found some enjoyment in it get fucked over because they can't even.
It's
they
literally
can't even deal with
cyberpunk
it.
happening before our very eyes.
Yep.
It's sad. It's really sad.
Well, did you guys? I want to go back to the movie, the Vince Vaughn thing. Did you guys have anything else to say about the
IPs?
side tangent we were on?
Nope.
So I want to go back to the IPs, and I think that I don't remember if you said it was solely to blame the movie companies. I think general audience takes a lot of the blame for that,
Yeah.
because the market adapts to what the general audience likes. And so these big name, big action IPs of
Marvel.
like Marvel, they sell. Versus back in the day, like Ferris Bueller or, Sweet 16, I felt like it was a time when you could release those because there wasn't other stuff that was like,
Not everything was a brand.
yeah. But now the general audience has said, we like this and we'll go see that guaranteed.
Movies
Versus
that just
Hughes
want to be
movies?
good for the sake of one movie
Yeah.
just don't release in theaters anymore either. It's like Netflix, Amazon.
Yeah.
Like they don't want to take the risk on doing a theatrical release because they're going to have to compete with the next $1 billion, $500 million budget.
Well, and I'm
Yeah.
sure
film,
they have
you know?
studies that show that risk isn't even like, there's no reason to take it.
Yeah.
But I think
Like it's an absolute loss.
that's. I actually don't think that the blame is on the consumer on this.
At all?
No, because I think that that's the exact thing that Vince Vaughn is arguing against. The idea is, you pair, like that's the twisted idea that I think he's like saying is fundamentally flawed, which is, you pair it up with this big brand. Battleship is the one he told about, and people go see it because they're like, oh, Battleship, and they recognize it. Again, I think that only works in the short term. Then people 2 or 3 times in get burned, and it's like they wisen up to it, and now it's like no one's gonna go see Battleship 2, or no one's gonna go see.
I kind of like the first Battleship. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah, I was going to say, you'd be surprised.
I didn't even know.
It's just like
I don't
dumb
know what it
fun.
is.
General, I
Liam
mean,
Neeson's in it for some reason.
But I don't think at the end of the day that's what has staying power in terms of like a film that has an impact on culture, or staying power in terms of like generating revenue downstream. I think it's a short-term win that produces no long-term results. So I think the logic is flawed.
I don't know though, because I don't know if it is short term because they've been doing this since 2000. Like I would say the first movie that really kind of did this, the thing you're talking about, is probably Transformers.
yeah, that's kind of when we started to.
2007, and pretty much from 2007 till now, that has been the mindset. And so I don't think they haven't really experienced up until very, very, very recently with all the Marvel films. They haven't really experienced the downside, like
The
you're talking
fatigue.
about. I think, and I don't even know if people are burnt out on that style of movie. I think that I think the quality of those films have gone down.
Oh, yeah.
Is what it is.
Well, especially when you look at like Wolverine and Deadpool.
Yeah.
The quality on that one's a lot more on par or even above par.
But I think what you're arguing
Mm-hmm.
is that they will continue to do this as long as it makes them money, which ultimately is on the consumer.
And the market will shift. And you know,
if
like,
they stop going, if they stop treating these IP films like they're, like peak
Sacred.
cinema sacred, and start giving these other films a chance, like like they used to in the 80s and 90s, then it might shift what people are focused on.
But I would push back and argue in the sense of, let's take it before. I think Wolverine and Deadpool has done a lot to repair a lot of things. The MCU is one
For
and-
the IP film.
So let's shelve that. Let's have this argument 2 months ago. What do you think the state of cinema is? I would say it's probably not in the best of shape, to be honest, as a whole, in my opinion.
No, I agree with you, but I think maybe the reason why I think
Yeah, the reason why is I think
is
the
different.
quality. You guys are arguing the quality has dropped because they're just leaning on the IP to carry the movie, and that's, you don't get anything interesting from that. Who gives a shit if
Yeah.
it's you don't
But-
go to see the movie because you want to see somebody playing Battleship. I know it's just, I'm using that example, or whatever, but the quality has dropped, and I think as such I'm not as motivated to go wait in line and see things at the movie theater, because I just
so then
wait
the
for it to
market
get
would
at home.
adjust.
Exactly. That's
If
what I'm saying.
enough
So the
people-
quality, and I think here we are for so many years. Like, this is where I'm agreeing with Vince is we've
You're
made
friends with
this.
Vince now too. What's all these first names?
Sean,
Mr. Vince, Mr. Vaughn, is so many decisions for so many years because it was like it worked, and it was like the lazy way to work and get
Yeah.
it done. And I think that industry sort of took a hit because that's what everything was funneled into. And I think we might even be in the same kind of thing with video games, right? Like, we see a lot of like stale shit coming out because it's like, well, we know this will work. Less risk. We know we can squeeze this out, and it's just simple, and we're comfortable with
No,
it.
that's why
It's
we were just talking
cozy.
about. That's why the indie game is starting to surge.
Exactly.
I think
Yeah.
that gamers are a little bit better at shifting the.
FIFA?
Well,
They're
still
louder.
FIFA.
sports
They're
gamers.
louder. They're fucking loud.
Gamers as consumers, I think, are a little bit more
Worst.
vocal and
The
a little
worst.
bit. They have a little bit more power and effect on making change than I would say like movie consumers are.
They're the worst clients to have, dude.
They are, But like, if CD Projekt Red was a film studio and they released a bad movie, they would be like, "Oh, fuck it," It happens. It is what it
You
is.
move on, yeah.
But that just that doesn't happen in gaming. If you release a bad game, you fucking fix that shit.
It's like CD
And-
yeah.
So like the film equivalent would be like if you released a bad film, you doubling down and making a sequel to that film to make it better.
Well, and not only that, if you release a bad game on the internet for years, people are gonna shit on your company. Versus Pacific Rim 2 is ass, but you don't hear me saying Legendary, those motherfuckers.
Legendary has let me down.
Yeah,
so
Legend. No, I'm
I
like,
think if you release a bad game, it's forever bad. I don't think it ever fully recovers. I know you
Well, yeah,
gave
no,
like your
I was-
example of No Man's Sky or whatever that had a shitload of updates
yeah.
over time.
Well, no,
and-
I was just more saying like, gamers are gonna hold on to
yes.
gamers hold on to it forever.
forever
100%.
versus a movie that will, but it's also different. A movie, there's a lot more, there's different people that take the blame. Like for Pacific Rim 2, I blame the writers and the director versus Legendary, because I understand that Legendary is just like the money, the wallet. But then even then, I don't remember writers.
But we also don't blame the studios for bad films either.
Yeah,
Like we blame game studios for bad
Yeah.
games.
like CD Projekt, how could you do this?
Yeah, or
to
like-
me?
It's like on the director.
But but like if you see a bad movie, you don't go out of it and you're like, "Fuck Universal! I'm
Yeah.
never watching a Universal film again."
You see
Isn't
bad
They've
that weird?
Marvel.
scorned me one too many times.
Disney
That's
has.
weird.
Yeah.
That is really weird, huh?
I think there's more degrees of separation.
I feel like that too. It's like it's its own isolated box, and it's like they just fund. It would be like if you blamed. This happens in the game industry. Like you blame the publisher for that bad developer.
people
But we
do, though.
do. Like,
Yeah.
we do. God, gamers suck.
Gamers are so fucking like
If you're just tuning in, we're bitching about gamers. Be sure to like and subscribe if you already haven't. Good to see everybody.
If you're a gamer, fuck you.
Yeah, if you're a gamer, fuck you, get out. No, stay, please.
It's like a 90%. We're like a Marvel/gaming podcast.
Oh, God. That's so true. It is interesting to see how everybody... gamers are... I play games that people have spent 20, 30,000 hours in, and if you talk to them about the game, you think they fucking hated the damn thing, because they know every little thing wrong with it.
But then there's also stuff. I guess you see this with movies. I would say you see this with movies more, of like I was saying with FIFA or Madden or like any type of like even Call of Duty now is almost getting to the level of it's like me from an outside perspective. I'm like, guys, like, why are you still supporting this game? Like, this is garbage.
No,
but they do.
I don't know. People could say that like
As
us and Marvel films for like the last 4 years.
But look at Wolverine and Deadpool. Okay, guys.
I know, but that's what
I know.
that's the same thing. Like
I know.
every
They
once
made one good one.
like every once in a blue, like I mean, I've definitely died down a little bit on like the, because I never even saw like the third Ant-Man, or because I had a lot of fatigue
You don't
there.
need to.
But like that's basically like the same thing as like buying every Call of Duty, and then once in every 10 years you get like that Warzone that kind of pops off a little bit, and then it goes back to kind of being shit. And that's kind of what has been happening to Marvel a little bit. And I know last podcast we were excited about the future of Marvel, and I still am. But there's no denying that like the quality really dipped.
I'm excited for the long-term future of Marvel.
Yeah.
Not the short-term. They
Not
still have
short-term.
two.
Yeah.
They still have two ones that I'm like, oh, God.
But like I think
What's up, Daniel? Good to see you.
I think a lot of that too, and this can be applied to gaming, is if the company takes their time, and that's what happened with Marvel is what Bob Iger, or who's the
Yeah. That's
Bob
the
Iger.
Disney CEO.
Yeah, he came in and he like
You guys
put his
are
foot down
crazy.
for Marvel to slow down. And I think that's going to help tremendously. I don't think it affected Wolverine and Deadpool at all. I'm sure that was in the work way before he came in and said that. But I think
because it was a
that'll
Fox
help.
film,
Yeah.
really, and then it became a Disney film.
Yeah.
But
I wonder if someone objectively studied these things and if the quality really did dip, or if it was just simply oversaturation.
I think,
I think
the quality did dip.
I do agree. I definitely think so. But how much is it? How much did it drop? I mean, if you were just objectively, some way you were able to measure that, how much did it drop, and how much was just observation bias of just there being so much? And because it did
well,
drop,
that
it
was a
felt
huge
weird.
part of it for
You
sure.
came from this high of like
Endgame.
in all three of our opinions, peak cinema. I mean, that was freaking chef's kiss, clap it up,
Yeah.
standing ovation in the theater shit. To what was the one immediate movie after that?
No Way Home.
Yeah. Okay. Well, see,
That was
terrible.
still good.
No. It wasn't. It wasn't fucking Endgame. It wasn't Endgame.
It's just because of Spider-Man. Let's move on.
100%. Was it as good as Endgame?
No.
Okay,
No, but
so there you go.
it was good.
Why would I mean? That'd be like saying Doctor Strange 2 was
Yes.
as good as Endgame. You know what I mean? Like,
Some games are bad. Some bad games are nostalgia. I'm not sure what that means. Just some bad, like you enjoy to play.
well,
them.
yeah. There's games that we look back on fondly that if we went back
Yeah.
and actually played and like looked at it, like
You're like this game sucks.
like, and we compared it to games now, it's like it isn't as good as like.
You ever go back and play a game and you I'm talking like a really old game, and you go, I used to think the graphics were pretty good. And like, and you're looking at it and you're
You know
like,
what I
that shit is so bad. Like, I can't even read that.
You know what
I
I
think it's-
experienced that most with, like very recently actually,
Star Wars.
Star Wars Battlefront.
Really?
Because I was like, I remember I used to sit here and play single player Star Wars Battlefront 2 for hours a day, and when they relaunched or re-released Star Wars Battlefront, I was like, okay, multiplayer's broken, but I still loved the game single player, so I'll probably still play it. I played like 2 matches, and I was like, this is kind of like boring as fuck. And I'm like, I don't remember it being boring
No.
when
Do you know what
my
it is?
tastes shifted so hard from.
I honestly think it's shooters. I don't enjoy shooters anymore. I really don't. I've played.
I think I could still have fun with shooters.
We played Helldivers, and I thought the combat wasn't really that great, but I liked the great game design. I could appreciate it. I thought it was really cool. The combat needed to be a little more dynamic. It was really stiff, and I just couldn't fully submit to it. I've played some of the new Call of Duties. I've played Warframe on and off for
Okay.
years. What?
Warframe to me is honestly not good shooter. Likewise, I know.
Well, it's
but I've-
still one of the most popular
I've never
games
got
out
it.
there.
It's not my cup of tea. But
Right.
to me, like I would ask, I know
It's like a bad
the whole
version of
game.
Destiny.
Yeah, I would agree.
Well, yeah, I was gonna ask, what is your? I know you don't like Destiny, but how did you feel about the shooting aspect? Because I think to me that's like shooters. That's like that's pretty high up at like top of the game of what a shooter's supposed to feel like.
Okay, so if I'm speaking taking my opinion of Destiny out of it, which actually is not a negative opinion. I think it's a fine game. I on paper, I would like the combat system of Destiny more, or it needs to have some mechanic like Call of Duty is, where the pace of combat is so high that that's now something that you can train and get better at. One of the things that I don't like about certain shooters is like Helldivers or even Warframe or any of these other games that are very stiff and rigid. I don't like, this is going to probably trigger a bunch of people, but like Valorant, for example. I don't like the gameplay of that.
We just
Or
lost,
CSGO.
we
Or
just lost
CSGO.
all our subscribers.
Because that game to me is
We have to start over.
damn it. We're going to start from scratch. That game to me is much more tactical in the sense of holding angles and being very quick and accurate with your aim. And that to me is just how much time you're willing to brute force your way into that game. To know every angle,
Yeah.
to know what pixel to line your crosshair up so that you hit the headshot. That's not interesting to me. I want something that I can logically progress and accelerate, and not just memorize positions. That's why I like the Call of Duty model, because there's an athleticism, there's a reaction speed, you could slide cancel, you can be mobile and kit mobilely where you can influence your gameplay based on
I would
that.
argue Overwatch is very much like that as well.
Overwatch is, depending on which champion you play, absolutely. And I like those level of games. And with Destiny, I think it's the opposite. It's not much on the movement side. It's much more of like how you gear and spec your character and use the abilities for it. So that's where it kind of gets interesting.
Like gunplay. Because Bungie, like that's the one good thing that I can always rely on is it's gonna feel good to shoot a gun.
It never felt satisfying because everything is just sort of like a damage sponge in that game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you see 1,000 numbers and you're like, all right, I don't know. It didn't have that satisfying like.
You know what
headshot.
I think like the peak first person shooter mechanics is actually Doom.
I would agree,
Interesting.
but I think I don't think it's peak. Well, tell us like you.
Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal, both, they give you that feeling you're talking about. It's all reactionary. It's very fast paced.
Yeah.
You're never
Smooth
You
animation.
never stop. It's very smooth, and you feel, if you get good at that game, you feel like an unstoppable juggernaut of like pure anger and power. And no other game, first person shooter wise, has pulled that off as successfully, I think, as Doom has.
Epic music.
Yeah, it's like fucking metal music, and it's you versus an army of Satan's minions. Like, I think that feels, as far as first person shooters go, Doom Eternal feels the best to me.
But I think going back to like you were talking about how like have I aged out of that, or can I get interested in that? For me,
I think you've aged out of it.
I think I've aged out of shooters. I just am not. I feel like it's been there, done that. I don't know how you can evolve gun gameplay more than what you have.
I don't think you can really.
That's what I'm saying.
Well-
like, when are you going to get better accuracy, like, or better visuals?
I mean,
Is
you
that
don't
what it's
think
missing?
Doom is peak?
I think it's peak for its flavor. of shooting. I think
Yeah.
it's a flavor of shooting, and I think there's different flavors of shooting. I think Doom, it works really well for it, and I love Doom, but to me, like I don't know necessarily if it's like a good shooter, or it's a good shooter, but it's like it's a different flavor. It's a more aggressive, more arcadey.
You literally get health back by killing people.
Yeah,
It's like
and
you have no
so
choice
it's
but
more.
Be aggressive.
It's its own flavor, and they do it really well. But to me, that doesn't make it peak. I don't know if there is a peak. Like I was saying with Bungie, it's not that it's the peak. It's just I know that's the one thing they do well, at least for me.
I guess
Halo
it depends on
Reach.
what you're trying
Yeah.
to accomplish, right? Because that style that Doom does, I don't think that they do have an online component to Doom, but I don't think that style really makes online that good.
You know what? The more I think about this, what is peak gun gameplay? And I know if Something Cool Gaming, you're still in the chat. Apex Legends for me.
Ugh,
The reason is
I could never get into it. I'm sorry.
the reason is there's an immense gun variety. The entire game, like skill cap, is based around movement, which is so hard to get really good at in that game. Which is, I've dumped 200 hours in that game, and I might have a 0.3 KD in that game, and that's not even an exaggeration because I was just terrible. But that had really, but again, it was the game mode, which is the battle royale 3v3, 3 versus all style gameplay that makes that game interesting. It's not the gun gameplay. So I don't know how you could, like, I know that there's like there's a couple gun MMOs on the horizon. There's two of, I can't think of the name, but I know that there's two like touted as coming out. Who knows about this shit, but I don't know what a gun game needs. The gameplay of itself of zoom in and fire. I just don't. I've seen it all. I've played it. I played it my whole life. It doesn't
But-
evolve. Like it's just not interesting. So maybe a game that introduces more game systems around like supporting the game, so it acts more like an MMO might be interesting. But gameplay for me needs to have more than point and click, and that's what gun gameplay will always come down to.
But so I would argue that you aren't growing out of shooting. You're just at a time where you don't find any interesting, because the reason I would argue that is that all games pretty much stem from, like, if I had to try and think of it, like 4 gameplay styles, right? We have shooters, we have platform, we have puzzle, and strategic, maybe, like, and that's like every single game goes off of those,
Falls into one of those.
and I think shooters, they just need to do something to reinvigorate you, or make the
I
right
agree.
combination.
I would agree with that.
because I don't think you've grown out of it. I think it's just right
Man,
now.
formula's gone stale.
Yeah,
100% agree with that. Like, I think the battle royale genre saved first-person shooters because I think the whole team deathmatch thing I was done with years ago. Then battle royales came out, and you see things like Fortnite, and you're like, that looks fucking fun. That's a really cool concept. We need that. We need some kind of next step evolution. I don't know what that is because battle royales are sort of already super epic.
well, and like you look at, for example, another genre like Zelda, Breath of the Wild, that kind of took something that was, I mean, it wasn't dying, but it was a very stale
Yeah.
formula of like, oh, it's another Zelda game. You go to dungeons, and then they blew it up, and it's like,
And I
Everybody
don't,
loved
yeah,
it.
I don't know how they even do that to a
Yeah.
shooter, So it's not like we have the answers on what they need to do. But I think that battle royales, like you said, it did bring a lot of faith back into first person, not just first person,
Yeah.
but shooters in general. But then that got really saturated and stale over the course of like a year.
and then
it
I
was
guess they
like-
tried to go to like hero shooters
yeah,
with Apex,
hero shooters
and
like in
Overwatch.
Overwatch and what's that other one that failed really quickly? It launched the same time as Overwatch. Oh God, it's made by the same people that oh God, was it Valve that made it?
Was it Valve or was it Riot?
I don't remember. There was a game that launched the exact same time as Overwatch, and it was almost like the same thing, and it had a lot of, and it failed so quick.
Wow. I doubt it was Riot. Right, anything Riot does goes gold. It seems like.
I'm gonna look at this. Battleborn.
Battleborn. I don't even know.
It
what
That's
was
that is.
right.
yeah,
It was
Is that
Gearbox.
Valve? Oh,
Gearbox. They
okay.
yeah, and
It's-
they were. There was so much hype behind it, and it looked like it was gonna be really good. And then Overwatch came out and
Yeah.
was like a better version of it, and then just completely dwarfed it. But Battleborn and Overwatch, I would argue, were like the first two like hero shooters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. It's. I don't know what that next step in evolution is, but you're absolutely right. Like, I need something to get me excited about it. I need that new curveball, whatever that is.
I don't get
And I don't
super
know.
hyped on shooters either, but like
Yeah.
I'll still. I mean, right
Especially
now,
lately.
like the only games that I mean RPGs, of course, but like the only games I can go in every time and the formula not change at all, and I'm still okay with is like fighting games.
What about platformers like Mario?
No, I get pretty burnout on.
Yeah?
Yeah, but like I just recently redid a playthrough of MK1 because they're launching an expansion in September, and I forgot, dude. I fucking love that game. Like Mortal Kombat is so good.
Really?
It's so good, and I'm not even really that good at fighting games. Like I could barely beat the campaign on normal, and like I struggle with that, but I still have a lot of fun with it, and I'll play online, get my ass kicked. But I love fighting games, and Mortal Kombat, especially this last one, Mortal Kombat 1, had like one of the best stories, not just in fighting games, but like in gaming. It's really good. And people kind of sleep on that because it's a fighting game.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like it's known for its campaign.
Yeah.
No, I like my high fantasy. I like my high fantasy with magic and.
There's magic in Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
There are sorcerers.
I'm not saying it's not. I'm just telling you
Oh.
what my genre that I like is. That's my genre. It's high fantasy, magic shit everywhere, dynamic combat systems.
I feel like I'm pretty open to all genres.
See, like, I mean, if I'm coming up with this on the spot. Let's make the game now. You can combine FPS with magic, but not the game that they already made, Evertum or
It's
whatever.
Destiny.
Immortals, whatever that one was called.
They're first person wizards.
Yeah, no, we have real guns.
Wizard bullet.
Yeah, and then you
Just shooting energy
Enhance them with
blasts
magic.
like a machine gun.
50, 50, 50.
Dylan, that game sounds terrible.
Immortals of Avernum.
Avernum? Oh,
It was.
God.
It came out. You guys remember what I'm talking about? It was exactly that. It was like you were.
Ew.
You shot.
That was like Harry Potter and the Deathly
Probably
Hallows
not
Part
bad.
2,
Yeah.
the game. It was a third person shooter. And like you play-
FPS magic is just Skyrim, something Cool Gaming says.
But-
it was worse.
in Harry Potter, the Deathly Hallows Part 2, it's a third person
gun.
shooter. And so your wand, it literally like shoots like bullets.
What do they
in
just
that game.
mod
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
a shooter?
No, that was how the game, yeah,
Oh,
probably.
God.
But you'd be like, Expelliarmus.
Yeah.
And you're like literally shooting from behind
Fucking
cover.
recoil.
Like and that's what I'm picturing.
Yeah.
When
I will say there is a game that I think came out that it's. I guess you could classify it as a first-person shooter that I really like the idea and I want them to do more of because it took the idea.
SpongeBob, Battle for Bikini Bottom.
Yes. It took that idea of Immortals of Avernum or whatever that game's called, of where it's like first person magic. It's oh boy,
God.
what's it called? It's in Tokyo.
Bonum, bonum,
Well, anyways,
bonum. Mm-hmm.
Kyle, can you look it up while I try to explain it?
What's it called?
It's
Immortals of Avernum.
No, it's Ghostwire Tokyo. Ghostwire Tokyo.
Oh yeah.
I really enjoyed that, and I thought that one was different enough of like it wasn't just a straight up like I had machine guns for hands. It felt like I was casting actual spells, like because you'd hold to charge, and like you had this water spell that would like slice, and then you had like a fire spell that was almost like like it was like like a rocket launcher, obviously, but you'd fire it, and you had to switch between them, and you could like it. I don't know. It worked for me a little bit better than Immortals of Avernum, and I think it is a good idea. I think it needs to be worked on and done right. I think that would be really cool because magic is cool, and if you could somehow
Magic is cool.
magic is
LARPing is cool.
Yeah. If you
Join us.
But if you could turn that first-person shooter somehow and not make it like I have machine guns for hands, I think you could make it work.
Mm,
No,
I don't know. I don't know if I
Immortals of
maybe it's
Avion.
first-person games that I don't like.
you don't like first-person games. What about hack and slash?
There's definitely games that I'm not gonna say like I hate all first-person games because I have something against it, but I think if I'm gonna have like my fantasy game that I want, I don't want to fucking see hands casting spells all day long. I want to see my character. I want to be able to position.
You
It
want to see your
changes
character be?
It changes the gameplay. And now I
Yeah.
have this view of like
He's describing
I'm
Guild
controlling
Wars.
the environment. Well, no, I mean definitely. That's definitely I'm looking through that lens for sure. But I'm controlling like my situation, where I stand. I like the combat is way more dynamic and interesting than when my field of view is this, because I got half my screen for waving hands and like I don't I want to be able to get immersed in the environment. So
I'm not a
think you
huge
can get.
fan of first-person games either, unless it's like I'll forgive it if the game is really good
Mhm.
and the story's really good. But I remember way back when Cyberpunk was still in development, when they announced it was going to be a first-person game. I remember thinking like, man, like I was hoping it was going to be third person. And then I ended up, loving Cyberpunk. But I'm kind of in the same boat. Like I'll forgive first person if like the game is good and the story's good, the campaign's good, but it's not my primary preference in gaming.
Daniel says, "What about VR?"
I have no experience in VR gaming.
I think it still needs a few years of like.
I don't think it'll ever get there.
No, never.
I'm kind of turning on it. I think VR is really cool. I just don't see it really playing out. Like, you can have an incredible experience with VR, and it could be totally unique. But I think once you have, it's like 3D movies. Like, wow, that's really cool. I'd rather just see it on a regular screen now. Like, it's undoubtedly, if
Yeah.
you're watching the same content, 3D is more interactive, right? Undoubtedly. But we still choose 2D movies, right?
Unless
I think
VR
that's kind of what VR is falling
truly
into.
puts you into the universe, I don't think it's ever going to
If it
be.
becomes like Ready Player
Yeah,
One,
if it becomes like Ready Player One, then it's going to be better than.
And I don't want to have to put on like a whole helmet and sensors and have this whole crazy setup and standing up. Like, I want to sit in my
But
chair.
if you put
and play my game.
a helmet on, and you are truly in that world, then
like sensory,
Like full body sensor,
full
Yeah.
like it's indistinguishable from
Yeah.
the real world. That's the level I need VR to be before I like consider.
But even then, what you'll do is you'll get into that, and then you will then play yourself, who then grabs a controller and then plays the game.
I would love like if they put me
You're
into
third person
Skyrim's
to
universe,
right?
or
Some
or
fantasy.
Cyberpunk or Elden Ring. Imagine how terrifying Elden Ring would be in
Fuck.
like in that world.
Someone's
But like
gotta
you
a
have
VR
all
mod.
the energy and stamina of the character in the game, so you can level
Yeah.
up, and then so you feel like I feel so good right now.
Like imagine any one of those games, how the potential of if it fully put you in the game, you could like in Cyberpunk, for example, you could walk up to somebody, an enemy, with the gun behind your back. You could actually sneak and just
Yeah, but all of the examples that we're talking about is cool once.
No.
And you're yes, it is. Because then immediately it wears off.
No,
And it's
if
not
I'm in
for
the
me.
game,
No, it's not cool anymore.
if I'm in the game,
It's not. No, it's not. No,
It's not cool anymore.
It's not gonna be. It'll wear off.
it won't.
It'll fucking wear off. I guarantee it.
No,
And
yeah,
you'll have to spend $10,000 to have that
Good
experience.
thing we will never experience this in our lifetimes to
don't
verify
think
the
so?
madness of what
You
you,
don't think
just.
so?
I don't think we're gonna get
Not
ready.
in-
for
I
it
don't
a
think
while.
you understand the level we're talking of. Like you're in the game. Like it probably wires into your brain and shuts.
What the fuck? Okay, now we're getting to that levels.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
You
what we're
are
talking.
in
reality.
the universe.
You're
reality.
in the
Your
game.
doesn't
reality has
exist anymore.
changed. It's the Matrix.
Yeah.
Okay, now
That's what we're talking about. And when you're like, the novelty will wear off.
No, it's like the
I
Matrix.
still think the novelty will wear off
You-
even in a
you're-
Matrix situation.
If you could experience flying like Superman, that would wear off.
I can go to Disneyland right now and go to their flying simulator thing. And
No,
fucking feel
there's no
it.
technology that would allow you to actually fly. The simulators I'm talking like you put on this helmet and you have the powers of Superman. That's what I'm like it's not a game. It's indistinguishable from and you're like
I honestly think
means
that,
nothing to me.
I honestly think the novelty would wear off.
I'd rather play Guild Wars 1.
Yeah. No. I honestly think the novelty will wear off. It'll be
Not
cool.
a novelty anymore.
It's not.
It's reality.
You're not grasping.
You just can go and fucking Superman. You're destroying like,
This
and
is-
it's indistinguishable from
Yeah,
reality.
you would be sitting in the chair wearing the helmet like this.
But it is indistinguishable from like other than the fact that you know it's not real, but it's indistinguishable from this moment we're having here. This is simulated, but
so
it's
you're just
this real,
living out fantasies,
and you're living out the game.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
at
what we're
that
talking
point,
about.
if we're at that point in society, you're just living out your life.
That's why I
in a
said we
fantasy
will
world.
never
Yeah.
in our lifetimes we're not going to get to that point to ever see this.
I think if we ever got to that point, we would like our default would be to just slam our brain with dopamine. we would just be dopamine.
Everybody would be in this universe and he'd be like, well, I'd rather play Guild Wars.
Who's still online?
So, boys, we log it in.
in. We're good to go.
Man, I don't know, man.
Imagine if it was Guild Wars the game and you got put into that universe and you were your character and it was indistinguishable from the reality.
I think that would be a lesser experience than actually playing the game. I don't want to fucking run around or even have the effort
Because-
of running around or
No, it's not an
thinking
effort.
about moving.
It's not an
Now
effort
the game's
because
different.
you have all the skills and ability. Like if your character has unlimited stamina, then you could just run forever. You know what I mean? Like it's not like your human limitations are in this world. Like you
No,
go in
I
as
think,
that
I
character.
think Billy likes the gamified aspect. That would make
100%.
it. That would make it real.
So I would go.
And
Yes,
It's not. It's not like
It's a
chess.
novelty.
Well, it's
So
not
I
like
would-
chess
I would
versus.
jack in, and then I would sit at my computer and play my game.
It's not like like chess where it's like.
You are
It's a
just
game.
built
I am
different. You are just wired
I
different,
know.
sir.
What's the quote?
Like imagine how cool, Kyle. Like Cyberpunk,
Yeah, being in that world.
and you could just pop out the gun and like.
Dude, imagine playing.
And then you get shot, and you feel it.
no,
No.
Oh, okay. So now we're it's reality, but not reality.
Well, it's a
you
game.
want to die? It's a game. Like, the battle feels real and you're in it, but then when you get
But
shot,
how would it feel
you get
real
a
if you
game
didn't
over.
feel pain?
Then
like
you
if-
get a game over.
I mean,
screen.
I'm sure there'll be people that want it that way, but
I wouldn't want it.
I
that
wouldn't
way.
want it.
I'm not.
Wouldn't
trying-
you? But like to feel the sensation of feeling real, you would want to feel that power emanating from your hands. You would want to feel your fist punching someone in the face.
Yeah, but you don't want to feel.
but now you're not feeling
well,
pain.
that why you there'd be a setting called like pain sensors. You turn it off, unless you're.
This is a world you
sicko.
want to live in.
No, not living.
No.
Play like a couple hours a day. Like,
Yeah.
If we're at this, there's no way. There's no way if we were at that level of civilization where that would be like, I'm gonna go jack in and play. Like, no, you would live out your life in that fantasy world
100%.
because reality would
which is why.
suck.
Which is
compared-
Yeah,
why-
see? And so it wouldn't become a novelty.
Which is why when you were saying like it would wear off after like 30 minutes, I didn't think you were grasping what we were talking about.
I just like. I mean, you guys are literally pitching the movie The Matrix, and nobody in that universe was happy, man. It sucks.
But that's controlled by the robots.
I can't with you fucking guys. I don't even know.
You're the one that's on the wrong side of this right
apparently.
now. That's so fucking
Apparently,
wild.
we want to fucking submit our lives away to a fucking
His fucking
simulation.
If he was playing Second Life, he'd create his character working.
Yeah.
the Dwight Schrute.
Oh, Jesus Christ. So chat, what do you think? Whose side are you on? You on the side of wrong or right? I'm just kidding.
And we're debating something that will never
Never
happen in our
happen.
lifetimes.
I watched the movie The Matrix. Nobody enjoyed themselves. Everybody seemed pretty
I
fucking
don't know.
miserable.
Neo felt pretty happy when he was learning kung fu.
Yeah. He didn't learn Kung Fu. He downloaded a
Yeah,
fucking
and then he was like,
EXE.
whoa.
Yeah.
Did you see the third one? He brought his powers into the real world.
Yeah.
All science went out the window. He was Jesus.
Because it was a simulation within a simulation.
He was the chosen one.
That's right. Oh, man.
You know, the first Matrix film was on Neil deGrasse Tyson's list of best sci-fi films of all time. And then the second and third one were on his list of worst sci-fi films of all time.
Oh, shit, huh?
Same with Back to the Future. Even though I liked all three, the first one was on his, and then this. Not that
That's
I'm
gonna be
like,
a whole nother that would be a side tangent.
we're not going to go
Yeah.
down that rabbit hole tonight, but not that like, you know, what Neil deGrasse Tyson says is law when it comes to film.
He is God.
But it is interesting that from that perspective, how quickly the Matrix films went
Fell off.
from sci-fi to fantasy, like over the course of one film, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, that goes to our earlier conversation of like did the Matrix really even need a sequel the way that it ended? I
No,
mean,
it didn't.
It didn't, right?
It was
It was
self-contained.
cool. The whole concept was cool, and it closed itself off like red or blue, and like the choice of reality or sim. Like that was kind of a cool thing. And then short-term gains, right? They're trying earlier conversation. They made short-term
Warner
bad
Bros.
decisions, milked all that money, and but because it wasn't a game. Matrix Matrix is always going to be spoken about very highly.
Do you think it would be? Do you think its success was attributed specifically to like Keanu Reeves? Do you think it would have been as successful if Will Smith, who was
Yeah.
actually the first choice to play the character, and he turned it down?
I think it would have.
Do you think it would have I feel like Will Smith would have definitely put like a Wild Wild West flair on it, and it wouldn't have been as good.
Really?
Yeah. Like think about his character in Men in Black, his character in Wild Wild West. Those are the films he was doing at that time.
But I mean,
There's
that
like a
doesn't.
stoicism with
I
Keanu
think
Reeves. With the
Keanu
film
Reeves
that-
is the perfect kind of dry, emotionless actor that fit in that role.
But
That I don't know if Will Smith would have done it as well.
introduced to.
look at Pursuit of Happiness.
He wasn't doing it.
I know,
that
but,
type of
like-
thing at that time.
Wild Wild West, Men in Black. That's what the characters were written as. That wasn't like him ad libbing the whole thing.
No, I didn't say he's ad
No, I'm
the
just
whole
saying-
thing. I'm saying that at that time, Will Smith would have been like, you know what's really cool? The quirky guy that can give a shit about anything, but he's also funny and he gets the girl. Like I feel like he would have played it like that. I don't think he would have played it like The Pursuit of Happiness.
I think honestly, I think the story transcends any one actor in that film, even
No?
because that was a star-studded cast.
I'm just bringing up that idea. I don't know one way or the other. I think Will Smith definitely has the capability, but
You better.
I think he would have. I think he probably would have
since
nailed
when,
the role.
since when are you such a Will Smith
I
defender?
hate him, but it's fine.
I think he's had fucking some bangers, but I think he probably he
yeah.
would have had his own flavor to the character for sure.
Yeah.
But I think The Matrix, especially one,
When
is
did
a
The Matrix
story.
come out?
99.
Is more about the story than it is any of the actors. And I think the question that the audience is posed with, I think it still would have had the same cultural impact. Like,
Yeah,
the
Will
story
Smith,
was that well
he
written.
famously turned down The Matrix because when the Wachowskis pitched it to him, like they did a horrible pitch and the story didn't make any sense to him, and he's like, I'm not getting involved in that. And then it came out and he watched it and he said he was like, shit, like I should have been in that movie. That's kind of like Matt Damon. He has
Avatar.
with Avatar, he lost out on the most money ever for any actor ever. They offered him, God, what was it?
10%.
10% of the revenue had he have said yes to film, and that would have
Damn.
been
Hundreds
hundreds of millions of dollars he would have got for being in it.
I wonder why James Cameron felt the need to offer that.
To Matt Damon.
Yeah.
It's not like he was an unestablished movie maker. I mean,
But that's what I'm saying. Like,
he did like
Yeah,
Titanic, the
Yeah.
biggest film of all time before that.
you know what I mean? Like, if let's say Avatar didn't do that crazy well, like, it'd still be a $500 million grossing film. You know what I mean? Like,
No.
still James fucking Cameron and still like hyped for years as this spectacle. It would have still got.
Maybe-
I have no doubt in my mind it would have made over five. Even if the movie sucked, it would have made $500 million.
I think sometimes
that's still 50
when
million.
these writers and creators have a certain person in mind when they do this,
they get stuck.
they
in
get
it.
so dialed in that like this has to be the person. That I think that's probably what it was. And then ultimately when he was like, all right, not gonna work, let's find somebody else. And they ended up casting at the time some unknown dude who ended up making a bunch of movies after that. But at the time Sam Worthington wasn't
Yeah.
like in anything before that.
Was he in Terminator at that point or not yet?
So they finished filming Avatar in like 2004. So he wasn't
Yeah.
in anything yet.
He
And then
wasn't
it
even in
took,
Terminator.
it came out in 2009. It took from 2004 to like the end of 2008 just to finish all of the post-production, like CG work and
Mhm.
everything. Like it filmed for like a couple years in the early 2000s, which is crazy. So like imagine being in that movie and like starring in
They're
it.
filming it at the same time
And
as
then-
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, and then for 5 years after you're done filming, just telling everybody like, just wait, I'm gonna
So
be in this
good.
movie. It's gonna be epic.
You'll see.
James Cameron. So good.
Like, are you gonna be in this film though? Like Crazy Sam, he had a nickname in his pub. Are you
I
gonna
bet
be?
the editors hated James Cameron because of how like I've seen behind the scenes shit on the Titanic.
Yeah.
And how much effort went into creating like how the boat broke apart. And like the level of science and the weight distribution, and he had this like vision the whole time of like what it would look like, and he brought in all these scientists, and it had nothing to do with the film. It was just nailing the ship and how it broke apart and,
Yeah.
the way it separated. It is fantastically amazing.
My main problem with Titanic is
The acting.
the acting. Leonardo DiCaprio is the worst actor. I swear he can't act. No,
take.
obviously that's not true at all. But my main problem with Titanic is it was literally over the course of like a day, how quickly and she took his name and everything, like how quickly these people
The love. Yeah.
the love is a beautiful love story, but it like in real life it doesn't happen that quick. All right, you don't just like. She was
it
in a
does to me.
One day, better
and then
than next.
he
to
could have
marriage.
got him that door at the end. Don't tell me there wasn't enough
could've.
room for him.
Rose was like,
It's like, oh man,
chilly. Scoot over.
he gets off because he's angry at her nagging, dies.
If only he knew about the Wim Hof method.
Yeah,
He could have just Icemaned it through.
and also that movie makes the ship seem a lot bigger than it actually was. Like if you compare Titanic, obviously there's over
Modern
100
ships. Yeah.
100 there's over 100 years ago, so obviously. But if you compare the Titanic to like some of these royal super cruise ships from Royal Caribbean, like it literally is
It's dwarf.
it looks so tiny compared to what
Looks
we
like
have
the
now.
tugboat that pulls it
Yeah.
to sea.
That was a weird tangent for me to go on.
You guys just reminded me. The tangent reminded me. There was this person that was telling me this conspiracy theory about the Titanic that it was crashed on purpose.
Why? What purpose?
There was
Big if true.
big if true. There was like important people on it that were put on it by
Yeah,
some
because that was
other
all the
important
fucking people
person.
who could afford it.
Yeah. And then
Nobody that
Jack's-
important.
For
Jack's-
competition, huh?
Jack's
they
ticket,
sabotaged it.
the guy who like Jack wins the ticket from was the guy who set it up.
Okay, that he's not a real person. So like
Are you
Titanic
sure about
happened, but Jack is a fictional
Are
character.
you sure?
I'm positive.
Was James Cameron not
Did
there?
he know something? Did James Cameron know something? His
Some
great
would say.
grandfather? Actually, it'd just be like his grandfather.
So some already ridiculously wealthy person put this idea together to build the largest, safest cruise ship ever. invite a bunch of rich people on it, not good on it, and then crash it just so he could potentially like win over their business. Like that seems pretty elaborate.
That seems
Which, I mean, we're talking about the days of where it was pretty much illegal to go out and have a pistol battle with these people in the middle of the fucking street. Like,
duels
we're
were.
gonna duel in the middle of the street, and it's straight
Never
up
mind
legal.
that the Titanic actually was designed and built extremely well.
Yeah.
Like it was purely human error that caused this. But like,
Human error, hubris. Yep.
Yeah.
If
I
that
don't
was-
even
I mean-
remember the theory. I'm trying to look it up
There's
now.
a million.
there are probably better
Yeah.
ways that you can get rich people. I mean, you can get rich people in the one building and, shoot it up or bomb it rather than building a cruise ship,
$1 billion
making them get on it, sailing
It's a
from
10-year plan. All the while, you finally build it, and the guy you're trying to take down is afraid of boats, and he never gets on in the first place.
it's a
You're like,
flawless.
fuck! Damn it!
The plan is foolproof. And then this is all like the precursor. What Titanic happened in 1911 or 12, and this is all the precursor to World War One. J.P. Morgan planned the disaster to kill his rivals. According to
Little
this
known
theory,
J.P. Morgan.
Yep.
according to this theory, millionaire banker J.P. Morgan planned the Titanic disaster to kill off rival millionaires Jacob Astor, Isidor Straus, and Benjamin Guggenheim, who all perished aboard. So J.P. Morgan funded the Titanic to kill his three rivals.
impressive.
He designed a ship. He had it built over the course of multiple years. Got it crewed, got the captain willing to kill himself, killed hundreds and hundreds of people, specifically to kill 3 men, rather than just killing them.
After 20 years after J.P. Morgan single-handedly bailed out the entire U.S. government. So he's already world-renowned at the top of everything, and he needed to do this to take him down.
That's right.
I'm going to have a hard time believing that.
This is the most bullshit thing I've ever heard.
And with that, Dylan, where can people find us?
Well, if J.P. Morgan doesn't get to us
J.P. Morgan's people, give us a call. Let us know.
On
if
our
there's
next-
any-
Did you do this?
on our next cruise,
Yeah.
they can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, any major podcast listening platform, as well as Twitter, which
X.
he said X with a whisper.
You can find us
Um,
on
I don't. Okay.
X, like Family Feud. You know? You ever seen Family Feud? Where the other family's like, you gonna get it wrong, boy.
Let's move on.
Moving on. You can watch us every Tuesday right here on YouTube, where hopefully you're watching us right now. We stream at 7 p.m. Pacific time. Come join us, chat with us. It's a fun time, and we're 3 silly guys, you know.
Just having a good time.
All right,
Just
let's
having a
end
good
this. This is going on too long.
What's the Saturday Night Live? 2 crazy guys.
2 wild guys.
Yeah. We're 3 wild guys.
With the good kitty, you get the dub. Bye.